Have you ever looked at a couple and wondered how do people so different ended up walking the same route for years? Have you ever asked yourself why you keep feeling drawn to the same type of person, even when your mind says you want something else? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about the karma of marriage, why you marry who you marry, and why this topic is not about blaming fate or romanticizing suffering. It is about waking up. It is about seeing the hidden patterns that shape our choices and learning how to transform those patterns through wisdom, compassion, and conscious practice so your relationship becomes a path instead of a prison. From the very beginning, I want to hold two core ideas close to the heart. The first is that marriage is not only a social contract or a romantic dream. It is also a mirror. And the mirror is usually honest in ways your ego does not like. The second is that what people call karmic marriage is often less about punishment and more about education. Meaning life pairs you with lessons that expose your attachments, your fears, your unfinished emotional training, and your capacity for compassion. Now let us enter this subject through story, because story turns a teaching into something you can feel in your bones. Imagine a man named Ken. Not a real name, but a real pattern. Ken grew up believing love was something you earn. In his home, praise came when you performed well. Attention came when you solved a problem. Comfort came only after you proved you deserved it. Ken learned it to be useful, because usefulness felt like safety. He also learned something else quietly. Needing someone felt risky. If you needed, you could be disappointed. If you stayed independent, you stayed protected. Then imagine a woman named Hannah. Again, not a real name. Hannah grew up in a different kind of storm. In her home, emotions were big, unpredictable, and sometimes manipulative. One day warmth, the next day silence. Hannah learned to scan faces, to anticipate moods, to become small when tension rose. She learned that stability was not guaranteed. She learned that love could change without warning. So she became highly sensitive and highly loyal. Loyalty felt like control. If she stayed close enough, if she tried hard enough, maybe the warmth would not disappear. Ken and Hannah met in a very ordinary way. A mutual friend, a casual conversation, a laugh that felt easy. At first the connection felt like relief for both of them. Ken found Hannah emotionally alive in a way that made life feel meaningful. Hannah found Ken steady in a way that made the world feel less chaotic. They felt like each other had the missing ingredient. This is how many karmic marriages begin. Each person feels the other person completes something. But completion is tricky, because what you call completion can also be compensation. You can unconsciously choose a partner not only from love, but from hunger. And hunger has a different flavor than love. Hunger says, I need you to fill a hole. Love says, I want to walk with you while I learn to be whole. Ken and Hannah moved quickly. They loved the feeling of certainty that the bond seemed to offer. Families approved. Friends celebrated. They talked about building a future, buying a home, having children, creating a stable life. On the surface, it looked like destiny. Then the first real test arrived. Not a dramatic betrayal, not a scandal, just normal life pressure, work stress, money decisions, a sick parent, small disappointments, missed expectations, the kind of things that reveal who you are when the mood is not romantic. Hannah wanted emotional reassurance. When stress rose, she needed closeness. She needed words. She needed touch. She needed Ken to say, I am here. Ken responded by trying to fix the external problems. Pay the bills, solve the schedule, manage the crisis. That was his language. But Hannah did not feel held by solution. She felt held by presence. So she asked for presence. Ken heard criticism. His nervous system interpreted her request as you are not enough. And because his identity was built on being enough through competence, he shut down. He got quiet. He worked longer. He became distant. Not because he stopped caring, but because he was flooded with shame and did not know what to do with it. Hannah interpreted the distance as abandonment. Her nervous system panicked. She tried harder. She asked again. She cried. She pleaded. Ken felt even more pressure. Pressure felt like control. Control felt like danger. So he withdrew more. And now you see the loop. The more she chased, the more he ran. The more he ran, the more she chased. Two good people, both trying to protect themselves, both accidentally hurting each other. This is a karmic dance, not cosmic punishment, but the momentum of unhealed patterns colliding. People often asked, why would life pair to people like this? If it is karma, why choose someone who triggers you? A Zen answer would be very simple. Because you cannot wake up without seeing what you are clinging to. A relationship brings your attachments to the surface. And marriage, because it involves daily life, brings them up again and again until you either grow or you break. In Buddhist teaching, karma is intentional action and its result. But in everyday life, karma also looks like habit energy. It is the tendency of the mind to repeat what is familiar, even when what is familiar is painful. Ken repeats distancing when shame appears. Hannah repeats pursuing when fear appears. Both habits were learned long before they met. The marriage did not create them. The marriage revealed them. This is why many people feel like marriage is a spiritual path even when they never wanted it to be. You think you are marrying a person, but you are also marrying a curriculum. You are marrying the set of lessons your nervous system needs in order to mature. Now I want to go deeper. Because a lot of people hear karmic marriage and think it means you are forced to stay no matter what. That idea can be dangerous. Wisdom requires discernment. Some relationships are unsafe. Some relationships are abusive. Compassion does not ask you to tolerate harm. Compassion includes protecting yourself and sometimes leaving. So when I say karmic marriage, I am not saying stay no matter what. I am saying if you are in a pattern, learn the lessons so you do not carry the pattern into the next chapter. Ken and Hannah reached a point where the tension became daily. They were not screaming every day, but the air felt heavy. Conversations turned into arguments quickly. Silence grew longer. Both felt lonely inside the same home. And that loneliness is one of the most painful forms of suffering, because you cannot even grieve properly. You are not fully together, and not fully apart. One night Hannah said something that sounded simple but carried years of emotion. I miss you even when you are right here. Ken felt it like a punch. He wanted to defend himself. He wanted to list everything he does. He wanted to say you do not appreciate me. But something else happened. He saw her face, not angry, just sad. And for a moment he saw the truth. She is not trying to control me. She is trying to feel safe. That moment is where karma starts to unwind. Because karma unwinds when awareness enters the loop. When you can see the other person not as an enemy but as a human being caught in fear, compassion becomes possible. Compassion does not solve everything instantly, but it changes the direction. Ken finally said, I do not know how to do this. When you need more from me, I feel like I am failing. And then I shut down because I am ashamed. Hannah cried, not because she was happy, but because honesty was finally present. She said, when you shut down, I feel like I am being left. Then I panic. Then I become intense. Then I hate myself for it. Now both of them could see the pattern. And seeing is the first step. Let us pause and talk about why we choose the partners we choose, because that is the center of the whole topic. Many people think they choose partners consciously, based on attraction, values, and compatibility. Those things matter, but there are also unconscious forces. There is the nervous system memory, the emotional blueprint formed in childhood. There is the craving for what you did not receive. There is the desire to resolve an old wound by replaying it with a new person, hoping the ending will finally change. There is also the karmic momentum of habits and beliefs you carry. So you might marry someone who feels familiar in ways you cannot explain. Familiar can feel like home even when home was painful. Familiar can feel like destiny, even when destiny is just repetition. If you grew up having to earn affection, you may be drawn to partners who are hard to reach, because reaching feels like love. If you grew up around instability, you may be drawn to partners who feel intense, because intensity feels like alevines. If you grew up feeling invisible, you may marry someone who is self-focused, because you are trying to finally be seen by a person who resembles the original person who did not see you. This is not shame. This is human. And the moment you see it, you can begin to choose differently. In Zen, there is a sharp teaching. If you do not awaken, you will live the same day again and again. Marriage can become that same day if you do not practice awareness. But marriage can also become the dojo, the training hall, where you practice waking up through every conflict, every disappointment, every moment your ego wants to win. Ken and Hannah decided to seek help, not because they wanted someone to declare who was right. They were tired of being trapped in the loop. They met a counselor who understood both psychology and contemplative practice. The counselor did not label one person the villain. The counselor listened to the pattern. The counselor said something that changed how they saw everything. You are both protecting younger versions of yourselves. Ken is protecting the boy who learned that failure equals loss of love. Hannah is protecting the girl who learned that distance equals danger. Neither of you is wrong for wanting safety, but your strategies are colliding. Then the counselor gave them a practice. When conflict rises, do not rush to solve the issue first. First, regulate. Slow down the body. Name what is happening. Speak from the feeling, not from the accusation. So Hannah practiced saying, I feel afraid. I need reassurance. I am not attacking you. I am asking for connection. Ken practiced saying, I feel ashamed and overwhelmed. I want to be close, but I need a moment to breathe so I do not shut down. That may sound too simple, but simple is often the doorway to liberation, because most suffering in relationships comes from unconscious reaction. If you interrupt reaction, you create space for wisdom. Over time, Ken noticed something surprising. When he stayed present instead of shutting down, the shame did not kill him. It rose, it burned, and it softened. He realized shame was not an identity. It was a sensation. And like all sensation, it changes. Hannah noticed something surprising too. When she soothed herself instead of chasing, fear did not destroy her. It rose, it shook her, and it passed. She realized fear was not prophecy. It was old memory playing in the present. This is karma transforming in real time. Not because a number changed, because intention changed. Now you might be wondering, where is the marriage karma in the deeper spiritual sense? Beyond psychology, here is a useful way to understand it. Marriage karma is the set of lessons you have the opportunity to complete through intimate partnership. Lesson around patience, lessons around generosity, lessons around honesty, lessons around attachment, lessons around control, lessons around forgiveness, lessons around responsibility, lessons around humility. If you avoid the lesson, you repeat it. If you learn the lesson, you graduate. Graduation does not always mean staying married. Sometimes graduation means leaving with wisdom. But when you graduate, you do not carry the same chain forward. Let us talk about the most common karmic themes that show up in marriage. But I will do it through more story instead of lecture. Ken had a pattern with money. He equated money with safety, so he needed control around finances. Hannah did not spend wildly, but she wanted flexibility. Ken would get anxious if the budget shifted. Hannah would feel controlled. She would interpret it as mistrust. He would interpret her frustration as irresponsibility. Both were acting from fear. The counselor asked them to look deeper. Ken realized his father lost a job when Ken was young, and the household became tense. He remembered his mother's worry. He remembered arguments. He vowed never again. That vow lived in his body. Hannah realized that in her childhood, money was used as a tool of control. Someone would say, "After all I do for you, you owe me." So Hannah equated financial control with emotional manipulation. When Ken tried to control the budget, her nervous system screamed danger. So the conflict was not really about the budget. It was about old fear. Once they saw that, they could create a new agreement. They made a plan together, not as a weapon, but as a shared structure. Ken learned to loosen control and trust. Hannah learned to communicate transparently and honor stability. The budget became a practice of mutual respect rather than a battlefield. Another karmic theme was family loyalty. Ken felt obligated to support his parents in every way. Hannah felt that their marriage should be the primary bond. Ken felt pulled. Hannah felt neglected. Ken felt guilty no matter what he did. Hannah felt like the third wheel. This is a classic karmic tension. Duty versus intimacy. The middle path is to act with compassion toward family while also protecting the marriage. But the middle path requires courage, because it means disappointing someone. And many people would rather suffer silently than disappoint a parent. Ken practiced setting boundaries with his family. Not harsh boundaries, kind boundaries. He said, "I love you. I will help. And I also need to prioritize my home." At first his family reacted with guilt. Ken felt the old fear rise, but he stayed steady. Over time the family adapted. Ken learned that being a good son does not require being a self-erasing son. Hannah practiced seeing that Ken was not rejecting her by caring for his parents. He was acting from duty and love. She asked for what she needed without framing his duty as betrayal. She learned that secure love does not require constant proof. This is marriage as practice. Now let us talk about the most confusing part for many people. Attraction itself. Why do you feel drawn to someone? Sometimes instantly, sometimes irrationally. Some people interpret this as past life karma. They say you knew each other before. They say you are paying a debt. They say you are reuniting. Those ideas can be meaningful for some, but even if you do not take them literally, the experience of instant familiarity is real. A grounded explanation is that your nervous system recognizes patterns. If someone carries the emotional frequency that matches your childhood imprint, your body can interpret it as destiny. Your mind might call it chemistry. Your spiritual side might call it karmic bond. Either way, it is a pull. The danger is confusing pull with compatibility. Pull can lead you into healing, but it can also lead you into repetition. Wisdom is to slow down and ask, does this bond make me more awake or more anxious? Does it make me kinder or more obsessed? Does it support my integrity or does it pull me into old coping? Ken and Hannah realized their early chemistry included healing and also included triggers. They did not shame themselves for the chemistry. They just learned to work with it consciously. They also learned something about compassion. In Buddhism, compassion is not pity. It is the sincere wish to reduce suffering. In marriage, compassion looks like this. I see your pain. I will not weaponize it. I will not use your vulnerability to win. I will not punish you for having wounds. And I will also not abandon myself. I will be kind and clear. Kindness without clarity becomes enabling. Clarity without kindness becomes cruelty. The path is both. Now I want to tell you another story that shows the same teaching from a different angle. Imagine a couple named Omar and Elise. They married young. Omar was intense, passionate, and jealous. Elise was gentle, loyal, and accommodating. At first, Elise interpreted Omar's jealousy as love. She thought it meant he cared. Omar interpreted Elise's accommodation as proof he could control the relationship. He did not say it that way. He would say, I just love you a lot. I just do not want to lose you. Jealousy turned into monitoring. Monitoring turned into restriction. Elise felt smaller and smaller. Omar felt more and more entitled. This is where we need to be very clear. Compassion does not mean staying in harm. This is not a cute karmic lesson. This is unsafe. Elise eventually left. People around her said, "But you made vows." People said, "Maybe it is your karma. You must endure." That is not wisdom. That is spiritual misuse. The karmic lesson for Elise was self-respect. The karmic lesson for Omar was accountability. Elise leaving was not creating bad karma. Elise leaving was interrupting harm. Sometimes the most compassionate act is separation. Elise spent time healing and learning why she tolerated control. She realized she grew up believing conflict was dangerous and that keeping peace required self-erasure. She learned to speak. She learned to set boundaries early. She learned to trust her body when it signals danger. Omar, after the loss, faced consequences. He felt shame. He blamed Elise. Then he blamed himself. Eventually he entered therapy. He learned where his jealousy came from. Abandonment, fear, insecurity, old betrayal. He learned that love is not possession. He learned that controlling someone is a way of trying to control fear, and it never works. He learned to regulate his nervous system. He learned to build self-worth. Years later, Omar became a different man. Elise did not return. That was not required. The karmic lesson still happened. The chain broke. That is what matters. So when you asked, why do you marry who you marry? A wise answer is, you marry the person who reveals your attachments and gives you the opportunity to transform them. Sometimes you transform within the marriage. Sometimes you transform after leaving. But the opportunity is the point. Now let us return to Ken and Hannah, because their story shows what conscious transformation can look like. They started a daily ritual. 10 minutes a day. No screens. No distractions. Just a check-in. Each person answers to questions. What am I feeling today? What do I need today? At first they thought it would be awkward. It was. But then, it became nourishing. Because many marriages fail not from lack of love, but from lack of presence. People become roommates managing tasks. They stop seeing each other. They stop listening. They stop being curious. Curiosity is a form of love. Ken learned to speak feelings in simple language. He did not need poetry. He just needed honesty. Hannah learned to ask for reassurance without demanding it as proof of worth. She learned to self-soothe and then ask from a calm place. They also learned to repair after conflict. Repair is a huge spiritual practice. Many people think love means never hurting each other. That is fantasy. Real love means you will hurt each other sometimes. Because you are human. And then you learn to repair. Repair builds trust. Repair builds safety. Repair is how karma clears. Repair looks like, I am sorry. I see how that hurt you. I want to do better. Here is what I will try next time. It also looks like, thank you for apologizing. I accept. And I also need this boundary. Over time, their marriage became less reactive. Not perfect, but calmer. The home felt warmer. They laughed again. They touched more. They felt like teammates instead of opponents. This is what happens when you treat marriage as a path of awakening. You stop using the other person as the enemy and start seeing them as a partner in practice. But again, this only works when both people are willing. If only one person practices and the other continues harm, then practice may require leaving. Now let us talk about destiny. Because people often use karmic language because they are trying to understand why some marriages feel fade. Destiny is not a fixed script. Destiny is the direction of your habits of thought, your habits of speech, your habits of action. If you habitually avoid honesty, your marriage destiny will be distance. If you habitually practice compassion and truth, your marriage destiny will be deeper trust. That is karma in a very practical way. So if you want to change the karmic story of your marriage, you do not need magic. You need practice. You need to notice the pattern, pause, and choose differently. When you choose differently, you feel awkward at first. That awkwardness is the feeling of a new path being carved. Old habits are like deep grooves. New habits feel unnatural until they become familiar. Ken practiced staying in conversation when his body wanted to shut down. Hannah practiced giving space when her body wanted to chase. Each time they succeeded even a little. Their nervous systems learned a new truth. Safety can exist without control. Love can exist without panic. That is the kind of inner learning that people call karmic clearing. Now I want to address a question many people have silently. What if I married the wrong person? Sometimes that question is honest. Sometimes it is an escape. The wiser question is, what is my lesson here? And what is the most compassionate action now? If the relationship is healthy enough to grow, your lesson may be patience, communication, humility, forgiveness, boundaries, shared responsibility. If the relationship is harmful, your lesson may be self-respect, courage, discernment, and leaving. There is no single answer that fits everyone. But there is a guiding principle. Choose the path that reduces suffering over time, for you and for others. Sometimes that means staying and practicing. Sometimes that means separating and practicing. Now let me share another angle. Because marriage karma is not only about conflict, it is also about why you feel devotion to someone. Sometimes you marry a person who brings out your best qualities. They make you kinder. They make you more honest. They make you more courageous. They make you want to live with integrity. That can also be karma, in the sense that you are meeting a supportive condition for awakening. Not all karmic marriages are painful. Some are deeply nourishing. The lesson there is gratitude and stewardship. If you have a good partner, the karmic work is to not take them for granted, to keep practicing presence, to keep choosing kindness, to keep growing together. Even in nourishing marriages, impermanence remains. People get sick, people age, loss can come. So the deepest spiritual practice in marriage is to love while remembering impermanence, and to cherish without clinging. Clinging creates fear. Cherishing creates warmth. In Zen, there is a simplicity that can feel almost harsh. Everything changes, but that truth can make love more precious. When you accept that nothing is guaranteed, you stop wasting time on petty bar struggles. You start asking, how can I be kind today? How can I be honest today? How can I reduce suffering today? Ken and Hannah learned this after a scare. Hannah had a health issue that turned out to be manageable. But for a week they feared the worst. That week changed them. Ken stopped caring about winning arguments. Hannah stopped caring about controlling outcomes. They held hands more. They spoke softly. They said what mattered. When the fear passed, they kept some of that tenderness. They realized they had been living like time was endless. The scare reminded them time is real. This is another way karma teaches. Not through punishment, but through reminders. Now I want to bring this closer to you with a more intimate reflection. The kind of reflection that might sound like someone talking to you late at night when your heart is tired. If you are married and you feel stuck, you are not alone. Many people are stuck not because they are bad, but because they are unconscious. Unconscious means running on old programs. Those programs were installed by childhood, culture, fear, and habit. The good news is that programs can be updated. Start by noticing your default conflict style. Do you chase? Do you withdraw? Do you attack? Do you appease? Do you freeze? Notice without shame. Then notice what feeling sits underneath. Fear, shame, loneliness, powerlessness. Most conflict is a cover for softer pain. Then practice one new move. Pause before speaking. Breathe before reacting. Ask one honest question instead of making one accusation. Offer one sentence of appreciation. Apologize faster. Repair sooner. These small moves are not small. They are karmic turns. They change the momentum. If you are not married but you are curious about why you choose who you choose, start noticing your attraction patterns. Are you attracted to what is emotionally familiar even when it is unhealthy? Are you attracted to intensity more than integrity? Are you attracted to being needed more than being known? Then ask, what would a wiser choice feel like? Often wiser choice feels calmer at first. That calm can feel boring if your nervous system is addicted to chaos. But calm is the soil where trust grows. Now let us close this with a final story that carries the whole message. Years later, Ken and Hannah were sitting at a kitchen table. It was not a romantic scene. It was ordinary. A simple meal. A small lamp. Quiet rain outside. Ken looked at Hannah and said, I used to think marriage was about finding the right person. Now I think it is about becoming a kinder person. Hannah smiled and said, I used to think love meant never feeling afraid. Now I think love means learning to stay present, even when fear visits. They sat in silence for a moment. The silence was not cold. It was warm, and that warmth was not luck. It was practice. That is the heart of marriage karma. You marry who you marry. And then, wife asks, will you stay asleep? Or will you wake up? Will you repeat old patterns? Or will you transform them? Will you use love to control fear? Or will you use love to grow wisdom and compassion? Thank you for spending this time with me. If this spoke to you, share your story in the comments in your own words. What lesson has your relationship been teaching you? What pattern have you been trying to break? What has helped you grow? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight. If you want more long-form talks about relationships, karma, wisdom, and the real practice of becoming free inside everyday life, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment so this community can keep growing. And if you want to support the work even more, consider joining as a member. Until next time, keep choosing clarity over reaction, keep choosing compassion over control, and keep walking the path where love becomes a practice of awakening.